Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are doing something a little different.
Yeah, a bit of a pivot today.
Usually we have a stack of articles or some dense white paper to go through, but today we're looking at something that is deceptively simple. It's a concept that honestly, it feels a little too relevant for a Tuesday.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
Right. We're talking about pressure. You know the feeling,
hmm
that tightening in your chest, the inbox that just won't stop dinging,
Yeah.
the stakes that keep getting raised until you feel like you're going to pop. It is essentially the background radiation of modern life.
It really is. And usually when we talk about pressure, the conversation is always about surviving it.
Yeah, just getting by.
Exactly. Or coping with it. We trade all these little tips on how to just get through the week without snapping at anyone.
It's damage control.
Total damage control. But the source material we have in front of us today suggests that maybe we've been aiming way too low. We aren't looking at a guide on how not to freak out. We are looking at a source titled, very specifically, Mastering Serenity Under Pressure.
Such a strong phrase.
It really is. And then it follows up with this incredibly practical subtitle, How to Stay Calm Under Pressure. So our mission for this deep dive is to figure out how we actually achieve that mastery. Because whether you are heading into a brutal meeting or managing a full-blown crisis, this isn't just about getting through it. It's about gaining total control over your state of mind.
Okay, let's unpack this because I have to play devil's advocate right out of the gate here.
Go for it.
When I hear mastering serenity, my skeptical brain goes straight to, incense, wind chimes, just ignoring reality. It feels a little soft. Is this just find your happy place rebranded for corporate America?
I completely get that reaction. I really do. It sounds aspirational, maybe even a bit detached from the real world.
Right, like a spa day or something.
Exactly. But when you actually take apart the specific words chosen here, mastering serenity, stay calm, they aren't proposing a soft approach at all.
They are.
Not even a little. They are proposing a high-performance framework. This isn't about feeling nice. It's about cognitive control. It's about executive function in high-stakes environments.
So less spa day and more, bomb disposal unit.
Precisely. Think about a surgeon dealing with a sudden complication.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Or a pilot losing an engine. They don't need happiness in that moment. They need absolute crystal clarity. That is what this source is pointing toward.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because if we're moving from just coping to actual mastery, that is a massive shift in mindset. So let's start with that first heavy hitter in the title, mastering.
Mastering. It is such a deliberate choice. Notice the source doesn't say finding serenity or experiencing serenity.
Right, it says mastering.
Yes. Finding sounds like luck.
Like you just stumbled upon a quiet park bench by accident and boom, you're serene.
Exactly. But mastering it implies work. It implies a skill set. And more importantly, it implies that this is not a fixed personality trait.
Which is huge, right?
Right. It's the biggest misconception about pressure out there. We look at those people who are super chill when the building is literally burning down. You know the type I'm talking about.
Oh, 100%. The ones who never break a sweat.
Right, and we think, oh, they're just wired that way. I'm not. I'm anxious. I'm reactive.
Yeah, I totally assume it's genetic. Like they got some chill gene that I just completely missed out on.
But the word mastering rejects that genetic determinism entirely. Think about it. If I tell you I am mastering the violin, you know immediately that I wasn't born playing it.
Right, you sounded terrible for years.
I sounded awful. You know I practiced. You know I put in the reps. So by using mastering right at the front, the source is arguing that serenity is a technical skill. It is not a mood.
That is a fascinating distinction. It means we have this huge categorization error going on. We treat technical skills like coding or playing tennis as things that obviously require reps, but we treat our emotional regulation as this fixed trait, like I'm just a hothead or I just panic.
Exactly. And the source is basically saying, no, you aren't a hothead. You are just untrained.
Wow. Untrained. That stings a little, but it's empowering.
It is. Mastering implies that you can actually override your biology. Because let's be honest here, your biology wants you to freak out under pressure.
Oh, for sure.
That's the fight or flight response. That's pure cortisol.
Right. Evolution didn't design us to be perfectly serene when a saber-toothed tiger is chasing us. It designed us to run as fast as possible.
Correct. So mastering serenity is really an act of rebellion against your own instincts. It's a neurological override. You are actively training your prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of your brain, to stay online when your amygdala, the lizard brain, is screaming that there's an emergency.
And that is a skill.
It is a profound skill. And like any skill, if you don't practice it, you simply won't have it when you actually need it.
Okay, so if we accept that this is a skill we have to practice. What are we actually mastering? Because the title says serenity, but then the subtitle explicitly says how to stay calm. Are we just splitting hairs here, or is there a real difference between those two words?
I don't think we're splitting hairs at all. In fact, I think exploring that nuance is the key to this whole philosophy.
Okay, lay it on me.
Calm and serenity are used interchangeably in casual conversation all the time, but in this specific context, they seem to function very differently. Look at the subtitle again. How to stay calm. Calm is usually the external, observable behavior.
Observable behavior, like what?
Like a low heart rate, a steady voice, not pacing around the room. It's the tactic. It's what you actually do.
Okay, so calm is kind of like the mask. It's me not throwing my laptop out the window during a frustrating Zoom meeting.
Right. You are behaving calmly. But serenity, which is the headline concept here, implies the internal state. It implies a deep clarity. You can be calm simply because you're shutting down, or you're dissociating, or you're just white-knuckling it and holding your breath.
Performative calm.
Exactly. Performative calm. But serenity suggests that inside, the water is completely still.
I see. So you can be calm without being serene.
Absolutely. Think about that duck analogy that everyone loves to use in business.
Oh, yeah. Calm on the surface, but paddling furiously underneath the water.
That's the one. And the source is arguing for something fundamentally better than the duck.
Because the duck is exhausted.
Yes. If you are paddling furiously underneath, you are burning so much energy. You are wasting massive cognitive resources just on managing your own anxiety.
Just to keep the mask on.
Right. But mastering serenity implies that you actually stop the frantic paddling. You achieve this incredible efficiency of mind where the internal chaos just settles down. And that is what allows you to actually solve the problem in front of you.
So calm keeps you employed, but serenity is what actually keeps you sane.
Perfectly said. And serenity is what allows for high-level decision-making. If you're just acting calm, but your brain is screaming in panic, you make bad choices, you get tunnel vision.
Miss the big picture.
Exactly. Serenity opens that aperture back up.
Okay, but let me push back on this a bit.
Yeah.
Because serenity still sounds, I don't know, it still sounds nice. Easy, almost. And the reality of our listeners' lives, whether they are managing a PR crisis or raising toddlers or trying to handle a corporate merger, is anything but nice. How does this concept survive actual contact with reality?
Well, that brings us to the elephant in the room, the prepositional phrase that anchors both the title and the subtitle.
Under pressure.
Under pressure. That phrase changes everything about this text. If the title were just Mastering Serenity, I honestly wouldn't be that interested. That's a book for a monk in a mountain monastery somewhere.
Right. It's easy to be serene when you're sitting on a beach in Bali with absolutely no cell service and a cold drink in your hand. That's low-hanging fruit.
Exactly. That is conditional serenity. It relies completely on the environment being perfect. It relies on the total absence of friction.
Which is not real life.
No. But the source pairs serenity directly with under pressure. It creates this incredible juxtaposition. Think about it. You have serenity, which implies softness, peace, stillness, and you pair it with pressure, which is force, weight, crushing intensity.
It's like oil and water. They don't naturally mix.
Or like being in the eye of the storm. The source isn't asking us to stop the storm. The pressure is assumed to be there. It's a constant.
It's a given.
Right. The challenge, the actual mastery, is to maintain that center of serenity while the compressive force of the situation is actively trying to crush you.
So in this framework, the pressure isn't the villain.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. In fact, if we really lean into the mastery concept, the pressure is actually the gym.
The gym. Okay, I like that. Explain that a bit more.
Well, you can't master sailing on a perfectly flat lake, right?
Right, you're just floating at that point.
Exactly. A sailor who has only ever known perfect weather hasn't mastered anything. To claim mastery, you absolutely need the test. You need the resistance. The pressure is the mechanism that validates the skill.
That is a total reframe. Because I think most of us, we view pressure as the thing blocking us from serenity. We think to ourselves, if I could just clear out my to-do list, then I'd finally be serene.
Or if the kids would just sleep through the night, then I'd be calm.
Exactly. We outsource our peace to our circumstances. We basically say, I will be calm when the world decides to behave.
And as we'll know, the world never behaves.
Never.
The world is entropy. The world is chaos. So if your serenity is entirely dependent on external order, you will never be serene. The source material is suggesting a complete reversal of that flow.
How so?
You don't wait for the pressure to drop to find your serenity. You bring serenity to the pressure.
Wow. You bring serenity to the pressure. That's empowering, but it also sounds really exhausting. I mean, let's at the subtitle again. How to stay calm. That word stay feels really heavy to me.
It should feel heavy. Stay is arguably the most rigorous word in the entire text.
Really, why do you say that?
Because stay implies duration. It implies maintenance against a force that is actively trying to move you. Notice it's not how to get calm. Anyone can take a deep breath and feel a little better for 5 seconds.
Right. I can count to 10, I can do the breathing exercises, but then I have to open my eyes, and the massive problem is still sitting right there on my desk.
Exactly. Staying calm means you have to hold that state over time. Think about lifting a really heavy weight. Picking it up off the floor is one thing, but holding it over your head, staying in that locked position, requires a completely different type of strength.
Oh, absolutely.
It requires all your stabilizer muscles. It requires intense focus. It requires endurance.
So staying calm isn't some passive state. It's not just sitting there blankly. It's an active, dynamic battle against entropy.
Yes. Think of a tightrope walker. From down on the ground, they look perfectly still. They look incredibly serene. But if you zoomed in on their muscles, on their synapses, they are making thousands of micro adjustments every single second just to counter gravity.
They're working so hard just to stay there.
They are working incredibly hard to stay.
I really love that image because it validates the effort. You know, sometimes when I'm really stressed and I'm trying so hard to keep it together, I feel like I'm failing because it feels so difficult. I think to myself, if I were truly serene right now, this would feel easy.
And this source is saying, no, you have it backward. The fact that it feels hard doesn't mean you're failing at all. It means you are doing the grueling work of staying. You are actively resisting the pressure. That is what mastery looks like in the moment. It looks like effort.
It's the difference between being a rock, which is just sitting there doing nothing, and a gyroscope, which is spinning furiously inside just to stay upright.
A gyroscope is the perfect metaphor. It uses its own internal momentum to defy all the external forces trying to knock it over. That is mastering serenity. It's generating enough internal stability to withstand profound external instability.
Okay, so let's bring this down to the pavement for the listener. We have the what mastery implies a real skill. We have the where under pressure is the necessary context. And we have the how staying is the active endurance. What does this actually look like on a random Tuesday afternoon when everything is going wrong?
It looks like a pivot. When the pressure hits, let's say you get an incredibly angry email from a client.
Oh, the worst.
Right. The amateur response is to immediately match that pressure. The email is aggressive, so you get aggressive back. The situation is chaotic, so your mind gets chaotic. You naturally mirror the environment.
Right. Panic begets panic. It's contagious.
It is. But the master does the exact opposite. They feel the pressure, they acknowledge the cortisol spike because they are still human, but then they engage the skill. They literally say to themselves, okay, the pressure is very high right now. My job is not to fix the pressure immediately. My job is to stay calm so I can actually assess the situation.
That's a decoupling. You completely decouple your internal state from the external mess.
Yes. And honestly, this is the ultimate competitive advantage in a world where absolutely everyone is reacting. The person who can respond is king.
The person who can respond is king. I really like that. It reminds me of emergency medicine. You watch those ER documentaries and the patient's crashing, all the alarms are blaring, everyone is rushing around yelling. But the lead doctor.
The lead doctor is the quietest person in the room.
Yes, every time. Why is that?
Because they have mastered serenity under pressure. They know scientifically that if their heart rate goes to 150 beats per minute, their IQ effectively drops by 20 points.
Wow.
They literally cannot afford to panic. Their serenity is a clinical tool. It's just as important as the scalpel in their hand.
That is the big takeaway for me right there. We tend to view calmness as a luxury. Like, oh, it would be nice to be calm right now. But you're arguing, and sources heavily arguing, that it's an absolute necessity. It's a tool for basic competence.
It is the foundation of competence. If you lose your head, you lose your skills. You could easily be the smartest person in the entire room, but if the pressure breaks your serenity, you become completely useless.
So mastering serenity is basically just mastering effectiveness.
100%. And that's why this matters for everyone, not just fighter pilots or trauma surgeons. If you are a parent dealing with a massive toddler tantrum in the grocery store, if you lose your cool, you just escalate the situation.
Oh, I've been there. It never helps.
Never. But if you stay calm, you contain it. You become the thermostat, not the thermometer.
Oh, I like that one. The thermometer just reflects whatever the temperature is, but the thermostat actually sets it.
Exactly. Be the thermostat. That is the essence of mastery.
But let's be real for a second. This is really hard. We've established that. Mastering anything takes time. So if I'm listening to this right now and I'm thinking, okay, great, this sounds amazing, but I've been a reactive mess for 20 years. Where do I even start? The source gives us the how-to promise, but what is the actual entry point?
I think the entry point is simply changing your personal definition of success.
How so?
Stop judging yourself by whether or not you feel stress. You are going to feel stress. The pressure is completely real. Instead, judge yourself by how quickly you can re-engage that stay protocol.
So it's about the recovery time.
Exactly. The very first time you try to master this, you might manage to stay calm for exactly 10 seconds before you snap.
Right.
And that's okay. Next time, aim for 20 seconds. The time after that, aim to catch yourself before you snap at all. Treat it like a game of inches. You don't go from total novice to Zen master overnight.
It goes right back to the gym analogy. You don't walk in on day one and try to bench press 300 pounds.
Right.
You start with just the bar.
You start with the bar.
Well,
And you respect the weights. You respect that pressure is heavy. Don't beat yourself up for finding it heavy. Just focus on your form. Focus on staying.
it's so interesting just by looking deeply at these few words: mastering, serenity, pressure, stay, calm. We've sort of completely dismantled the way we usually handle our bad days.
We have. We've moved from a victim mindset, why is this happening to me, to a training mindset. This is the resistance I need right now to build the skill.
That shift from victim to trainee is so powerful. It gives you all your agency back.
And it gives meaning to this struggle. The stress isn't just pointless suffering anymore. It's data. It's an opportunity. It's the fire that tempers the steel.
The fire that tempers the steel.
Yeah.
You are just on fire with the metaphors today.
Well, it's a very rich topic, but truly think about a diamond. A diamond is literally just a piece of carbon that mastered serenity under pressure.
I love that. If there was no pressure at all, it would just be a lump of coal forever.
Exactly. So the next time you feel that crushing weight on your shoulders, maybe, just maybe, don't immediately wish it away. Recognize it as the exact pressure required to make the diamond.
That is a profound place to land. We started off looking at a title that seemed, honestly, a little fluffy, and we've ended up with a pretty rigorous call to action.
It's a call to arms, really.
Yeah.
A call to step up and master your own mind.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into mastering serenity under pressure, I'm left thinking about the practical application for, say, tomorrow morning.
Me too. And here's the provocative question I want to leave you, the listener, with today. We've established that the source views serenity as a trainable skill, like playing tennis or coding. So if that's true, what is the very first rep you need to do today to treat it that way?
Just the first rep.
Yes. Not the big life-changing overhaul, not I'm going to be perfectly serene forever starting now, but the next time you feel that sudden spike of adrenaline, maybe it happens in 5 minutes, maybe it happens in 5 hours. What is the one specific thing you will do to prove to yourself that you are in charge of your state? Will you take one deliberate breath? Will you consciously lower the volume of your voice? Will you simply pause for 2 seconds before replying?
That's the real challenge. Stop hoping for calm to just magically descend upon you and start practicing the active skill of generating it.
Exactly. Treat your calm as a craft.
I love it. Treat your calm as a craft. Thank you so much for breaking this down with me. I think I'm actually weirdly looking forward to my next crisis, just to test this out.
Careful what you wish for.
Fair point. Very fair point. But at least I'll be ready for it. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us, everyone. Take that concept of mastering with you this week, and we'll see you next time.